Ladies and gentlemen, we are entering our second episode of When Two Becomes One. Thank you so much for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed our first episode. Thank you for everybody who watched it, who left comments, who encouraged us to keep going. The first episode was awesome. We are only going up from here. So this is our second episode. We are excited once again. In case you didn't watch the first one, we are all couples that know each other personally, and that, you know, whenever we got together, we would always talk about couples issues, and we just decided to make it official and turn it into a show. For anybody who, you know, is in a relationship or is married and, you know, feels like they don't have people to talk to or never get a chance to hear other people talk about couples issues, here we are, and this is what we are talking about. So once again, we're grateful that you tuned in. And grateful that you're here with us. Before we get started, I'm going to take just a personal privilege here as the producer of this show, and just tell a quick story and thank everybody here at the table. For those of you who do not know, because a lot of you probably do know, but for those of you who do not know, in between the time we shot our last episode and the time we shot this episode, my father passed away. And quick story just about how much love and camaraderie is here in this table, here around this table. My father had cancer, and toward the end, when we got word that, you know, there wasn't anything else that could be done, so everybody in the family kind of had our own personal people who we told, and so I told this group. Well, little did my wife and I know that upon sharing this information, this group decided they were going to travel up to Rochester, New York. Now, we all live in the Washington, D.C. area. Rochester, New York is 6 hours away. So, you know, if you can imagine everybody at this table just popping up in Rochester, 6 hours away, out of nowhere, just to show support and to show love and to be with my dad. And, you know, we did not know, there was no way that we could know, that before that day was over, my father passed away. And so I just want to say publicly to you know, in a venue that I know is going to be outside of this group, to, you know, in a public venue, I love you guys. I want to thank you guys. That really meant the world to us, to me and to my family. And you know, again, I love you, and I can't thank you enough for doing that.
Amen.
Family, that's what we do. That's what we do.
We love you too.
Always support. We love you all. Yes.
All right. So we can get off the emotional stuff and get to this episode. So this episode is entitled 10 Questions. So here's the play for this episode. We have gotten every couple here has submitted 2 questions. One lighthearted question and one serious question. So what we're going to do is I don't know what the questions are. No one around the table knows what the questions are, except for the questions that we presented. So for the first 5 lighthearted questions, we all have whiteboards and markers. So I'm going to ask the question. We're all going to write our answers down. On the count of 3, we're going to present our answers to see what the answers are, and then we're going to discuss it. And hopefully you guys enjoy it. We don't know what's coming.
You never do with this group.
I'm worried about that.
We have no idea how this is going to turn out.
I don't like surprises.
We're not trying to end nobody's marriage. We're not trying to we don't know what's coming. We're going to be just as surprised as you guys are to hear most of these questions.
Amen.
So we're just going to jump right into it, and hopefully you guys enjoy it as much as we hopefully enjoy going through these questions. All right, so I'm going to jump.
Jesus.
Pins ready.
Don't be looking at my answers, McGee.
Lighthearted question number 1. Do you know what hospital and time your spouse was born?
Your spouse was born?
If you know the answer, please write it down.
Oh, yes.
If you do not,
Say I don't know.
Say I don't know. Do you know what hospital and time your spouse was born?
No, you didn't, Monet.
Okay.
All right, everybody ready? 1, 2, 3.
What? He said in the alley. He said in the alley.
Yeah, that's over there with the jail at.
And the free clinic.
Alright, well, okay.
Somewhere
Let's
in
start with you guys,
Batolia.
So I know for certain that my husband was born at Columbia Medical Center
What?
for women's. Columbia Women's.
Yeah.
It doesn't exist anymore, so that says a whole lot.
Oh,
you know, hey,
really?
it was Columbia Women's
Hospital for women.
Hospital for Women. Okay, so that's where I know he was
It's
definitely
now
born.
condos.
Yeah. $1 million.
But the time I'm not sure of. I put 2:00, but I'm not certain about it.
I don't know, but I know the world started August 31st.
Oh my God.
Oh, you don't even know the own time you were born?
I was born.
That much we know. Jesus.
Okay. My wife.
Was not born at DC General. And it definitely wasn't at 10:08. 208.
That's 208.
208. Okay, so I was born at Greater Southeast Medical Center.
The only hood she has in her. Clinic.
Which I was born at Greater Southeast Medical Center, which is now United Medical Center in Southeast. And I was born at 10:06 a.m.
I had that.
No.
But if you move the letters around, you'll get the Greater Southeast.
It was a cloudy day.
At all.
Okay.
So,
Alright, tell us.
I'm jealous because the Taylors, they look like they knew exactly and everything.
I don't know the time.
Oh, but still.
But we both from Chicago.
Turn around.
Okay.
Show the people.
Here we
So
go.
Chicago, he was born in Chicago, Line State, which is now University of Chicago.
Okay.
Okay.
In the morning.
Okay.
In the
oh,
morning.
that was good. And
My wife was born at Mercy Medical Center, Mercy Hospital in Chicago at 10:57 p.m.
Is that correct, Stacy?
oh,
my brother, you
Because Mercy is still in existence.
No, the time.
40
No.
something years later.
No. He got the time exactly right.
Because he has my birthday.
hey. Also,
But that man paid attention.
Exactly.
Sam
Thank you.
had not had a drink yet.
I give you that
That's real. That's real.
one. Real conversation. Real conversation.
He ain't got this Tennessee whiskey in it.
Alright, is it us? I just put no.
She was born at no?
I don't know. Do you know what's I don't know. I don't know what hospital. I don't know what time.
D. Monet
I'm
was
sorry,
just
baby.
born.
I love you. I don't know.
Honest answer.
I'm just gonna take it.
The only thing I do know, and I do have a birth certificate exists, Cook County Hospital in Chicago. Okay.
The county.
Okay. Cranium.
You got more than I got.
So for Kane, somewhere in Batavia, New York.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
I do not know the time, but I put at 12:02 p.m. because it had to match. Like it needs to make sense.
What?
Got it.
It had to match what?
The time had to make sense. Like I need to have 2 2s and a 1 and a 0. Like
Okay.
I
Got it.
don't know. That's- I don't know.
You know.
I don't even know what time I was born. Yeah, I was adopted, so I don't. You know, I know I was born in Batavia, but
Right.
I don't know the hospital,
Okay.
and I don't know the time. Right. So
Yes.
there you go.
Here we go.
In and out.
First of all, okay, that is a no.
Come on now.
Hey, come on, I nailed it. It was something on Florida Avenue.
Okay. My mama was not in no alley. No, I was born in Greater Southeast.
Come on now,
And,
yes.
I arrived at 10:10 p.m.
My God,
That's why you was right now, too.
Exactly. Mama's water broke at 6 a.m.
Oh wow.
So that's where dawn comes from.
Oh.
Oh,
So
She made that up.
no. So the thing is, I know William's birth story. Mama Faye shared that, but because I didn't know that was gonna be a question, I didn't ask her permission to talk about it. But I do know the story, but I don't know the hospital and the time
What story?
of your birth. She shared that.
Like
All right,
everything
here we
else.
go. Next question. And we're gonna switch this up.
We can write on the same paper.
So yeah, we
There's
already
5 sheets.
So the question, and we'll switch it over to you have to say this about your spouse.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay? So you have to answer the question about your spouse.
Okay.
Okay.
The question is, Who is your celebrity crush?
Hey! Hey!
Who is your spouse's celebrity crush?
Oh,
All right?
hell no.
Who is your spouse's celebrity crush?
It's yours.
If I do,
All right,
I'm gonna
now
sneeze.
I remember.
All right, let's reveal on 3. 1,
Everybody,
2, 3.
Sherman Hill.
What did he put?
He put Sherman Hemsley.
Billy Burton.
just said Sherman Hemsley.
McGee's reveal your answer.
When we were
Yeah.
talking when we were dating,
Yeah.
I remember him discussing she was his crush from college.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And of course, Nia, you know, that's my girl.
Yeah, that's
Rock
my
on.
girl too.
Yeah.
Right, she's our girl.
But this,
Yeah.
please talk about this.
So, this is you like Sherman?
I don't have a crush on Sherman Hill.
Everybody knows, all the queens at this table know who she has a crush on.
Ronnie DeVoe.
Every day, all day.
Even my
twice on
husband
Sundays.
Right. All right. Us.
Yep. He
What?
doesn't have a celebrity crush.
I know that's a lie.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
definitely do. I would have to think about it because
That was my point. Because I'm like,
I don't like dwell on one, but I'm sure there's a.
Who is it?
Who is it?
Let me think.
You like different things about different people.
Right, I like
Yeah.
different things about different people.
Yes.
Okay,
He
so
plugging the movie.
I put Morris Chestnut.
Okay.
And admittedly, I know that there is someone who recently you have like had a celebrity crush on.
Yes,
that's
not
not
him.
Morris Chestnut. I mean, is it Idris Elba?
no,
Okay.
it is Mahershala.
Mahershala Ali.
Yes.
That's who it is.
There you go,
Mahershala.
sister.
Mahershala
Come
Who
on
is
with
that?
it.
How is that?
Yeah.
All right, so
He used to be a rapper.
Yes, he was.
Believe it or not.
so my wife's
Okay.
man crush is LL Cool J.
Amen.
Yes. Ain't even mad.
Yes.
Not even
I might need to
mad.
take a time out right now. That
Amen.
is my, if he walk in here, Lord
Yeah.
Jesus.
Hey,
forgive me.
hey,
Brothers,
hey.
right.
So aside from me being his crush,
There you go.
Say it. Say it.
Come on, James.
Hold it up so we can see it.
Janet Jackson.
Did you put AKA Penny? Oh, she Penny. You put AKA Penny?
That's right. That's
because he's
right.
been in love with her just that long.
Yes.
Really?
Wow.
That's right.
When she was
Go ahead
skinny.
and say it.
Yeah.
That-
Yeah, sugar. Hey, Janet, listen. If you watching this YouTube, listen, give me a call. She will not mind. I'm going to take the phone no matter what time it is. Brother.
It's called 1-800-CATCH-THESE-HANDS.
You know
Yes. Thank you,
Yeah,
Matt.
okay.
Brashaw's.
My wife's crush
This is a
is not a crush, it's a piece of coal. Because he's that old. It's old Morgan Freeman, who went to school with Jesus. Graduation class with Jesus. Class of 2 BC, before Christ.
Craziest thing.
So my husband doesn't have one crush. He has 4.
Jesus.
God.
He just greedy.
Sanaa Lathan.
Sanaa Lathan.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Mary J. Blige.
Oh my God.
Yes, to Mary.
Taraji.
Oh,
And Jill Scott.
With 2 of those, you on point, bro.
Wait, hold on. Wait. Was Jill Scott your crush before or after that video came
Before.
out?
before.
Bro, listen. True story.
But my out of those 4, the very first one,
Mary J. Blige.
oh my gosh, I had every
MJB.
book that Mary J.
Yeah.
Blige, every Ebony, every Jet, every Source. That's how far I go back with Mary J. Blige.
So you want to send a shout out to
Mary
Mary
J.
Call you?
Blige. Kendu is a bastard. Hell with him. Come here. Come here. With me. Well, yes. Yes. Hey, she's only
Alicia,
here. Hey,
she
she's
can call the same
only
number.
here for
1-800
loan.
catch these hands.
She's only here for loan. Her contract expires soon.
Whatever.
Baby, if you're available, call me.
All right, next question. Next question. Everybody got your papers and your pens, everything ready?
Yep.
All right, next question is, if your marriage was a movie, what would be the title of it?
Jesus. Oh,
If your marriage was a movie, what would be the title of it? I'm sorry, yeah. Okay, here we go.
Come on ahead.
And reveal. 1, 2, 3.
what the fuck?
My man.
Hey! What is wrong with you?
Oh, God, help us all.
No, did you say? Oh, that's disrespectful. That is disrespectful. That is disrespectful.
All right, Bradshaw.
Okay,
Oh my
so because it seems like we are constantly on the go, that's why I named the movie On the Go. But Sleepless in Seattle, because we don't get much sleep
Jesus.
and we're exhausted and tired. But it's more so the title, not the whole message behind the movie. But what is this?
Okay.
What is this?
Our movie would be titled Wow. Because wow. But on a serious note, I felt Untouchables. Untouchables because I feel like we're a power couple.
Okay.
And I feel like we can't be touched. So we the Untouchables.
He's trying to make up all that other messiness.
Okay, come on now.
That's a ka-ching moment.
I have to give you that one, bro. I got to give you that one.
That was good.
There you go.
Amen.
Well, this is the PG-13, so the other one we're going to have to cut out, okay?
Okay.
Cool. So travel time, because you all know we love to travel.
Yeah,
Amen.
yeah.
Even if it's a short trip,
Yeah.
long trip,
Yeah.
we likes to get our travel in. The other one, my husband affectionately says, everybody can see it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He
read
uses
up.
the bottom word more often.
I can blame you though, because I can bleep you out.
Right, he often says I'm like, well,
It's a great title to a movie.
That's real.
And I'm like, but can you say it nicely? Like, can we make
Oh my
love?
gosh, y'all are
Right.
Let's
make
make
it
love
sound
now.
correct.
Y'all are
But you just make it sound so
Y'all are
wrong.
But,
sick.
there's a difference.
It is.
I feel like there's a difference, right? As a guy,
Yeah.
sometimes you want to make love. Sometimes
You want to
But he always
Oh well, I mean, look.
Hey, he works hard. He works hard.
That's romantic.
I work with him. He works hard.
That's no excuse.
My PG version was, if loving you is wrong, I don't want to be right.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
Good
Yeah.
That's because he wants. Leading to that.
All right, so is it us? I think it's our turn.
The Thomases, let's go.
So
Yeah.
I'll put the title of our movie, and I know I'm gonna have to bleep this out. It's all good. Y'all good Christians watching, so whatever. Title of our movie I put was "Does Jesus Get Mad If?"
Pretty sure you're gonna have to bleep that out.
I'm absolutely sure.
Yeah, that'll be bleeped out. But the reason I put is because, like, since we started dating, that was always like a thing, right? Because, like, I mean, you know, I won't lie. I feel like my wife and I are very sexually compatible. So we enjoy, you know, being intimate. But at the same point in time, like, especially in college, she was like super, like, you know, what does Jesus want from me? So it was seriously.
Why you gotta say it
But
like
it was,
that?
'cause that's what it was. So it was this constant push. It was to the point in college where I was like I really love you, but like I don't think this will work out ultimately because like you two up here with Jesus, and I've always been more of a like, you know, let's break down the Bible. Like some of this stuff is real, but some of it, you know, is bull, and it's been proven to be bull. And I've always been very pragmatic with it.
That is a cool title. So I have 2.
Okay.
Just the 2 of us.
Okay.
It's just because it's cute.
Mm-hmm.
No meaning.
Right.
But this one, Sex in the City, makes a
Yeah.
lot more sense.
Got you.
It just fits.
Yeah, I
Nothing
can see that.
related, like you were saying, to the actual
Movie.
show,
Mhm.
like at all. It's just because I just want to do it everywhere.
Yes, Monet.
So tired.
Within the last 4 to 5 years.
Doesn't matter how long.
That's right. That's fairly new.
Yes,
But
it is fairly
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Say
Lord.
it again. Say it again, bro.
Did he just say thank you, Lord?
There you go. Yes,
You
yes.
have to thank the Lord
Yes.
for your intimacy.
Yes.
That's what's up.
It's a
Cut that
blessing.
whole part out. No, I'm just playing. We got to be real with people. Let's go in there.
That's what's
No,
up.
some people might like,
Yeah. McGee's.
I'll let you go first.
girl, this title right here.
Mm-mm. Don, I think you should.
No. I want to get this out of
Get
you.
out.
What?
Let me tell you why.
Get
Because
out.
of stuff just like this right here. Okay? No, but in all honesty, I think when we first got married, we've always been great, you know what I'm saying, like as far as talking and everything, but it was kind of like there could be clashes, and I've had to learn to work on my how I deal with conflict.
Okay.
I mean, I never told her to get out. Right?
You never told her to get out?
I wanted to. But no, it's get out refers to how we have grown, especially myself, in conflict resolution and going. We do the counseling thing with the couples, and it's really helped out a lot, as far as my communication, especially on my part.
Amen.
But
Okay.
still, I do mean it when I see stuff like this. I mean, she needs to get out.
Wonderful movie. Most parents with little people have seen it. Poppy and Branch is a cartoon reflection of the daily interaction right here.
Jesus.
I am sunshine. I am ideas. I am let's plan the party. I am let's
True
do
story.
it. And he's every reason why not. That's too much money. How much is this gonna cost? As a result,
Billy, right now.
Not right now.
Yeah.
Right now.
yeah, so this was easy because there is no other animation movie. I can't even make it up to describe us better than Trolls.
Wow.
Poppy and Branch is
Wow.
Dawn and Billy.
Wow.
Every day, all day.
I have to watch that movie.
I gotta watch them.
Yeah.
Oh, my
Yeah.
God.
I gotta watch it.
Yeah, we need to just.
Next question.
All right, here we go. So this is our last, and this is actually kind of a crossover question. It can be considered lighthearted, but it can also be serious. So it's a good transition question. Excuse me, as we move into our more serious questions. So our last lighthearted question is: do both of you consider yourselves early birds or night owls?
Oh my God.
If you are on different ends of the spectrum, how does time difference impact your marriage?
We just gonna get one sentence.
All right, is everybody ready?
Yeah.
All right, I believe we start with the Bradshaws.
It's the McGee's
It's the
now, 'cause
McGee's.
we started
We'll start
first
with the
last
McGee's.
time.
All
Are
right.
we all raising our cards?
Yeah, this is,
Yeah.
Oh, that's fine.
this is the last one for the cards.
All right.
Ready?
Ready?
One.
We all got dissertations.
1, 2, 3.
You gotta hold them up there a little while.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Probably got one right, McGee.
Let me see your wife.
Remy both, Alicia both.
Wow.
Not on both ends. But one husband has
But we know. Now we know. Look, I wrote basically the same thing.
There you go.
I don't blame you, Brett.
I try to keep up with our
Yeah.
I'm a brand.
My wife's an insomniac.
Okay.
She said,
She's an insomniac.
All right, we start with the McGee's.
Yeah, well, this is a card we actually got right. That's a fact.
It's the first time for everything, isn't it?
Amen.
Good job, Billy.
Amen.
You have to do that.
I'm proud of you, Billy.
Yeah, I'm the night owl. He's the early bird.
I am an early bird. That's right. She's the night owl. How it impacts our marriage. Really, she's up late working on homework all the time, usually. Or she's
Or a
with
project.
Yeah, or a project, or or she's with the baby. I'm usually out the door by 7. I'm usually up between 4 and 5, out the door by 7. So, we get moving. I get moving out the door. Sometimes she's still asleep when I'm moving out the house. And I would say that's kind of the impact. Sometimes it seems like we're missing each other. I mean, also, early riser. If I want to get late, she's still asleep. But whatever.
I'm gonna drink.
In the morning.
In the morning. I can. I do everything. I can do everything.
And I'm a night person.
I like that. I like that.
Yeah, boy.
I like that.
There you go.
I like that.
I'm a night person, so that is at times a challenge because the car is off in the morning. The car is off.
Hey, push the start.
10 p.m. to midnight, she's cracking all cylinders.
You need to wake
And
up,
he's
Billy.
asleep. Right.
I'm not.
Right.
Set an alarm,
So-
baby.
That is no joke. I'm
So-
like, by
Yeah.
10, sometimes by 10 o'clock.
Yeah, he's out.
Especially if I've gotten up late. If I'm late.
Yeah.
Like real late. So I get up anywhere between 4 and 5. That doesn't exactly mean I roll out of bed. But if I get out of bed and I'm on, I'm moving since 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock.
That can
by
weigh
10
on you.
o'clock,
That can weigh on you.
Yeah.
Later part of the week, it can weigh on you.
Yeah.
Hey, bro, you ain't saying
Oh, I
nothing.
know, bro.
You ain't saying nothing.
Your time is crazy.
Ooh, buddy.
That's us.
All right, babe, you ready?
All right, here we go.
All right, go ahead. Go first.
I'm an early bird. I hate that this one does not get up on time in the morning. Or at least my definition
Okay.
of time, right? So, in my mind, if I have to be to work by 7:30, we need to be out the door and in the car no later than 7:15 in order for me to be at the door by 7:28 and no later than that.
Jesus.
Not getting up and rolling around the bed at 6:45 or so like he will do. So that's the nerve-wracking thing. And it's only really in the morning. At night, I mean, it definitely rears its ugly head, especially if you're like, you were sleeping with me last night. And I'm like, you did too. So, you know what I mean? Like, it's kind of mutual. But,
so you seriously timed it out where if y'all leave at 7:15,
Absolutely.
you have to do it by 7:28.
no.
No, she does.
That I'm at my job.
Yeah, you're at your job.
That's right. Yeah.
Hey, she had that thing pinpointed.
Yeah,
I ain't mad at
because
her.
it's like, because I know it's like, it would aggravate me, right? My morning would not start off as well as everybody would like if we're leaving out the door late, and they felt that. So it has been hard in our marriage. The second part to that question, it's been very hard because I'm like, you don't want to hear me be frustrated at you and Weldon and Zion, everybody else in the house. Don't get this wrath because it's gonna happen. Everybody needs to get up. Like, you know what I mean? So he would be like, don't come at me like that in the morning because you don't need to do that. I don't need to start my day off like that. And so we would get into it. And I'm like, well, duh. Everybody has the time that needs to be everybody.
You know what? I'm feeling the pressure. I'm not even.
Right. Yeah,
I'm feeling it.
clearly, she's very
Passionate about it.
about this topic. First of all, I will very freely admit that I am a night owl. I love staying up at night. If I had found a night job when I was in my 20s, I would probably still be there.
Got it.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I am a night owl. I love doing things at night. I love being up by myself and just having that alone, especially now that I have a wife and kids. When everybody's asleep,
Yeah, that's
like,
his time.
that's my time.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Like, especially like since like my father passed, that's my time. It's sort of like, okay, I can block everything out. But even before that, like, I've always been a night owl. Growing up as a teenager, that used to be one of the pet peeves of my parents all the time. You don't get up in the morning. Like, that was constant. And what she's talking about is, like, I have sort of a complex because I used to get yelled at in the morning
And
a
that's
lot
what he
because
told
I
me.
wouldn't get up on time.
That's what he
So I
told me.
remember, like, as a teenager growing up, and I would wake up to someone yelling at me because
Make you
I
frustrated.
hadn't gotten up. And so I'm getting up in the morning and I'm hearing somebody yelling at me and I'm instantly frustrated. And I was like, that's a pet peeve of mine.
Right.
I don't like that.
Right.
So when my wife started doing it, because she had to be at work at a certain time, you know, I had to tell her, like, look, if I wake up and you're yelling at me, that's a trigger for me. You know what I'm saying? Like it's instantly going to put me in a bad mood, and it's not going to be a good morning. But I also have to understand where she's coming from because she wants to be at work on time.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And I get that. Like I completely understand that. But here's why I say that there's another piece to that. And I'm gonna bring this up, and you can tell me to stop if I need to stop. It's cool. We don't have to talk about it because I know it's come up in conversation.
Sure.
The flip side to that 7:30 piece with work is that initially she had to be at work by 8:15.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And we got to the point where we were consistently getting her to work by 8:15. At some point, she comes to me and she says, I think I want to move my time up to 7:30. And I say, I don't know about that. We just started being able to get you to work by 8:15. Like we were constantly late, and we just hit this. Like I don't know. The next week she calls me, hey, I moved my time up to 7:30. Oh, right. So
She pulled a trigger.
now we're late again.
She moved
A
the
lot.
goalposts.
Because whereas where we were leaving out at a certain time before and getting you to work on time, now if we leave out at that time, you're late.
Yeah.
So that caused a lot of tension because it was like, and don't get me wrong, I understand why she wanted to move her time up. If she moves her time up to 7:30, she gets off at 4,
Right.
which means that she gets the daycare on time. Zion gets out at a certain time. She goes to work at 8:15, and we get her to work at 8:15, and Zion's going to be late.
And that's my
Right,
point.
then my
I
daughter's
would
gonna be
rather
late.
be late
Right.
than for my daughter to be late.
But we could get to work by 7:45, right, which is different than 7:15, and Zion still be on time. So that became a really big point of contention because it's like we hit a point where it was like, okay, we're consistently on time. My wife is happy in the morning, we're good. And then she made this decision, and then we're back to me late again. And now she's pissed in the morning again. And I'm like, I didn't make this decision. Like this has nothing to do with me. I didn't move that. Didn't move that time. All right, we are at the Taylors. Taylors, tell us about your early bird or night owl issues.
Go ahead, hubby.
Well, I am a all day until I sit down kind of cat.
Okay.
So when I wake up, it's like I'm on play until I sit down. When I sit down, I'm done.
We know, brother. We've
I'm
been to
done.
the movies with you.
I'm done.
So
Now, on the other hand, my wife, she can wake up when I wake up to leave, which is most times 0:30.
Okay.
So she can't really go back to sleep like I can. So if she wakes up at 4 o'clock to see me off, she's probably up because she'll be getting up shortly thereafter that to go to work. And then she'll come home, she'll generally get home before I do. And then she'll stay up until 12, 1 o'clock at night. She is a insomniac. My wife is an insomniac. She just once she wakes up, that's it. And then she'll stay up a long time. So, yeah. But, and then we are almost never in sync as far as timing is concerned. So I have to give big ups to her because she, a lot of times we'll be talking, we get a chance to talk in bed. If I'm laying down,
It's a wrap.
it's a wrap. It's a wrap. I fall asleep on the couch, fall asleep. Yeah, that's a wrap. Yeah, so I have to try and sit up because once I lay down or sit down, it's a done deal. It's a done deal.
Well, he hit that on the head. I'm preferably a night person. I'm preferably a night person. I'm up late. That's when my creative juices get to flowing pretty good. Like you said, if he wakes up, if my sleep is disrupted, then I'm up because then I start thinking about what I could be doing instead of laying in the bed. I start thinking about stuff at work, stuff I need to do around the house, stuff that'll help the business, just different stuff that my friends have talked to me about. So my mind just clicks on, and then there's no off switch. So it makes it hard. It's very hard for me to just shut all the way down. How that impacts our marriage, it makes it hard to communicate. because I know he's been going all day. So once he comes home, his mind is still kind of on work. So it's kind of hard to get in what we need to talk about as far as our marriage is concerned. Makes it hard to kind of spend time together because, as we know, drivers are not show up, not commit, and he's taking a job to do, and now he has to run off to do it. So it makes it hard, by him being an entrepreneur, for us to really plan time together. Making and keeping plans, it's very hard, but I know he does try. I will say in the last 2 to 3 years, he's put forth extra effort to really, really, really try. And I see that even though sometimes it doesn't pan out, still kudos, you tried, you did everything you could in your power to try to make that, or try to be there for me, or be there for us. So, kudos for that. I do see it, I acknowledge it, and I appreciate it, because I know it's hard when you're trying to be self-employed. We're not trying to be when you are self-employed. It is very difficult. That's why I know it's not for me, per se. But for him, I think it's great. It's wonderful that he has that goal, and I support it.
That's what's up. That's what's up.
Amen.
Precious.
We tired right now.
Real conversation.
And he's not lying. But no, we both are on both ends of the spectrum. We get up early in the morning. Because of my job and where I work, I travel about an hour and a half, so I have to get up by 5 in order to be to work by 8.
Jesus.
And then fighting traffic to get home, then you got to stay up late to make sure everybody gets taken care of. So sometimes I'm not entering into the bed until about 12 o'clock. So, but it's for both of us. It's not just myself. It's both of us doing that. And so how it impacts is that I try to make sure he gets his time when he first gets home, just kind of wind down. I generally try to take my time while I'm driving. Sometimes I do talk to people because that's the only time I get an opportunity to talk to people on the phone. But most times I try not to talk to anybody because I get tired of talking 8 hours out of the day. So it's just kind of I just want to give him my time. So I try to make sure he gets his time when he gets home. But a lot of time he ends up falling asleep. So then I'm upstairs, he's downstairs, and I know I should go get my husband, but a lot of times I get in the bed and I'm just tired. And before I know it, I'm asleep. And then I don't know when he comes upstairs. Sometimes maybe 2, 3, or he may stay down there the whole night. And so it impacts our marriage in that respect because we both are always, it just feels like we're always tired. And we just don't have that time. But we've tried very hard to now start making a concerted effort to do stuff together, or I may, instead of coming upstairs, just sit downstairs, and if I have work to do on my computer, I'll stay downstairs, or if I can do my hair or whatever the case may be, I may just stay downstairs with him, and then we both end up falling asleep. So we do try to, balance everything out, but until God blesses us with another job, praise him. This is just, the bone of contention we have to deal with. Right, the season. Right, the season that we have to deal with.
Well, my wife did hit the nail on the head, and my title is "We Do Not Sleep at All." But she's right. We're always busy, and it does makes it hard, as all of us have said, makes it hard on the relationship because you don't really have that time. It's hard to get the individual time, but then it makes it hard for the couple's time.
Right.
And it also kind of strains the relationship because there can be things you want to talk about or that needs to be discussed, be it the relationship or the kids, and it makes it kind of hard because you're tired. And then we all know when we're tired, we get very cranky.
That's right.
Yes, God.
And sometimes we say things that we don't mean. Because I know a lot of times for me, I snap at her and it's not purposely, but it's just that I'm tired and I get irritated. So that's something that I've been trying to really work on, is just not being so agitated. But we both have very stressful jobs, and the commutes has a lot to do with it. And then we have a teenager, and we have not a toddler, because she's not an infant, a toddler. So it also makes, but We stay busy. So please, y'all, if y'all can get our babysitter, please.
But you know what? I can honestly say we have a good village. You know, we have our parents who have helped out. We have other family members who have just really been a blessing and stepped up.
Yeah,
and they understand. Right. And I think that's the thing that, you know, we're appreciative of is that they understand, so they have no problem. Oh, you know, if y'all want to go on a date, you know, we'll watch the baby. Because a teenager, he can stay at home.
Thank God.
And play Fortnite all night.
Thank God.
God bless.
Yes.
But we're really appreciative for that village that helps us.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I ask you to pass in your whiteboards.
Okay.
We are transitioning from our, we call them lighthearted, even though that last one felt like it wasn't so lighthearted, to our more serious questions. This is going to be sort of an open discussion, so after the question is asked, take as much time to think about it as you feel like you need to. We're not going in any particular order. Whoever feels like they want to talk can talk. Don't be afraid if we go a while in silence. I can cut that out very easily in post-production. So I ask the question. Please take some time to think about it. If you feel like you need to think about it, whoever wants to jump in, jump in. And this is where we'll go. We are now transitioning into the deep water.
Oh, one thing.
Yeah.
Can we pray first?
Lord Jesus.
You want to pray? You want to pray, Ray? Go ahead.
Oh my God, Lord Jesus.
Him scared.
He's very concerned.
Did you see the question? How deep are these questions?
Hey, if those questions like that brought this conversation,
Right.
can you imagine what the real ones
Here we go.
are going to bring?
I just don't.
Lord, watch between me and thee. When we
Trying to tell you.
Is Don gonna be walking home or what?
hey, I can
Never that.
Exactly.
Hey, walking
Never that.
nowhere.
Never that.
That's
All
right.
right, here we go. First serious question. If there was one thing you could change about your spouse, what would it be?
Oh, you just gonna start off like that?
I didn't make the order.
You just gonna start off like that?
I'm just asking the questions as they came.
I did, Billy. I did. I did not. I really didn't. I was just.
Oh my God! Because she always thinking.
I'm always thinking.
Yes.
If there is one thing you can change about your spouse, what would it be and why?
Who we
Can I
start
start?
It's no order.
Oh,
Jump
she
in.
volunteered.
Can I
man.
start?
Absolutely.
It starts
Can
with
I
us.
answer for my husband too?
Sure, if he agrees with the answer.
Oh, trust me, he'll agree. For me, I desire for my husband to communicate more. He has a tendency to hold stuff in. And when he holds stuff in, he has a tendency, I'm not going to say shut down, but he has a tendency to make me feel like I'm nagging him. Because I can see something is going on, or I feel like I'm just constantly asking, baby, you okay? What's going on? You want to talk about it? And he'll say, I'm all right. But his body language is clearly telling me that he's not all right. And so then I feel like I'm becoming annoying because I'm still asking, but I can tell that you're not all right. So what's going on? And he was like, no, but I'll be all right. Okay, now we're getting someplace because now you're telling me something is wrong, but now you're telling me that you're going to be all right. Okay, so tell me what's going on so I can help you be all right. Because if it's something that I can help him come up with a solution for, or if it's something that he needs help in terms of doing, like maybe, for instance, I know, I'll just throw this out as an example. Picking up Imani in the evening, he has to be there by 6 o'clock. And so he wasn't getting off of work until like 4:30. But then DC traffic was pushing him right there to the edge of like maybe 5 minutes.
Right.
So then that's another reason why I just let him kind of have his time, because by the time he picks her up and deals with her until I get home, because sometimes I wasn't getting home until 7 o'clock, he would be stressed. And I could see it all on his face. And so then it became, okay, so what can we do to help him out? So he recently had his hours changed to later, to 6 o'clock. So then he reached out to my mother and he asked her, would you mind? And immediately my mother said, no problem.
Great, wonderful.
So that was like
Wonderful
a weight
mother-in-law.
off of his off of his back, shoulders, whatever, because of that very fact. So when he comes home, I can tell he's a little bit more relaxed. I can tell, so that's why I ask him a lot of times, what's going on? Just communicate with me, because maybe we can problem solve together. So that's my issue with him. His issue with me
Uh-oh.
is that I have a tendency, and I'm not going to say I'm a hoarder. I'm not going to say I'm a collector. I'm going to say that I just have not had the opportunity or the time to finish going through all of the boxes and unpacking after being in our new home for almost
3 years. 3 years in April. Go ahead.
But it
3.
all, it
It'll
all
be 2.
comes
3.
exactly. It'll be 2.
It'll be 2 years.
It'll be 2.
3.
So you're a nagger
Imani
and
will
a
be
hoarder?
3.
I am
You
not
are.
a nagger or a hoarder. I just haven't finished unpacking.
I'm making sure I understand
No.
so the audience understands.
The audience does not need your clarification. Thank you, sir.
So y'all hear her.
So
Go
my
ahead.
husband
2
is
years.
used to having order.
But I'm with you.
And I respect that. I'm not going to take that from him in terms of being able to have everything in decent order. But the issue is for me is I just don't have time. And that's what I try to get him to understand. I'm not trying to make excuses, but when you work and then you drive and then for mommies, you all know, we don't get to turn off. We immediately have to come and start taking care of whomever is, or feeding, whatever. So it's just like, by the time I get to 10, 11 o'clock, I'm burnt. I'm tired.
Done.
So what I try to do, and he has to commend me for this, is that I've started
gotten a lot
doing
better.
little things.
Around
Maybe each day I take an hour and I try to unpack or to move or to throw away or to do this. So I'm trying, because I know that is another thing that may throw him into a tailspin. So it's just kind of sort of like, hey, I am trying to make strides again because I'm trying to relieve him. Now, was I correct in the thing that annoys you the most?
You are 100%.
Jesus. Amen. So that's it. Unless you want to add something. Which you don't have to add anything because I said everything.
The queen has spoken.
That's a sign for men that are engaged or thinking about getting married. That right
Don't
there.
say nothing else.
You just leave that alone.
Leave it alone.
And this is what you say. Now to the tailor.
Go ahead, honey.
Wow. I don't even know where to start.
Just one thing.
I mean, we gotta go in order. We could go to another
For y'all
couple.
that
Well,
don't
well.
know Sam, if he's at a loss for words, that means
Yeah.
That means he has a perfect wife already. Thank you,
Yes,
Billy.
exactly. He's thinking.
You like to
Nah,
pass it
I-
along to another couple and come back?
Actually, I'm just have my wife talk right now.
Okay.
No, go ahead.
talk.
No, we let another couple because I want you to go first.
Okay, well.
sound like a
just
setup.
pass
Dave,
it.
you have anything?
Yeah.
seven.
If I could change something about you, I don't like that when we argue, I feel small.
Okay.
Like, he is, okay, so I joke about like our zodiac sign, like with him being a Scorpio, but there is this common trait among people of that type where they will cut you until you bleed. Like they will target like that like weakness, I would almost call it. And they remember a lot. Like, remember when you said like 5 years ago, this woo woo woo? Like, that's my husband. Like, he'll store it. If he didn't talk about it when it happened, no, it's gonna come back up at some point later on because it may be something that affected him.
That ain't just Scorpios, let me tell you.
I'm just saying, like, I'm just saying, but so
Definitely.
that is one of those things where I think I described it recently as it's a chess move. I'm not a chess player. My nature is not
Understood. One up.
one up.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't call it manipulate, but it's almost like changing the narrative to make sure that I win.
Mm-hmm.
That's not me. But my husband delivers like that and when he comes across in conversation.
So I definitely remember times in college where it was like, if we argue, I'm gonna win this argument,
Yes.
right? But since then, and specifically since we've gotten married, I feel like I try to find the middle ground, right? And I might be wrong. I might not be succeeding at that. However, I feel like your defense mechanism to that is to make me feel small. Like I feel like if you
Wow.
if you were looking for a way to combat you feeling smaller than an argument, you found it. Right? Because
Really, Billy?
That's it. Because
so
I'll
extra.
say something
Yeah.
and like you'll laugh,
Because
and I'll be like, yo, that was not
Thank you. Yeah.
meant to be funny. Like I was, and so it's, and I remember I used to say this. I said, we got to a point where, because again, I do remember that period in college where, because it wasn't just you, we were at an all-white university. I was always getting into debates with people. I was a militant one, so that was kind of like my mindset.
Yeah.
Like if I'm going to debate you, I'm going to win.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just you. And I was going back and forth with white people all the time about stuff. It was like, you're not gonna win this argument with me. Either I'm gonna win, or we're gonna say, we agree to disagree. But that was just like kind of like my mentality, and I realized that afterward. But I feel like I remember saying is your defense mechanism to that was to get to a point where you're like, I'm not going to ever concede an argument to Kaim, even if rationally, like you were wrong. And if we looked at it from a neutral perspective, like what you did was wrong. You know what I'm saying? Like it was just it's just what it was. Like I remember at one point we were in the airport. I don't remember exactly what the argument was, but you did something that I feel like you knew was grounding me, and I knew it was grounding me, but you would not apologize for it. You know what I'm saying? Like instead, when we went home, you did everything you could to try to change the subject and like crack jokes to come back. And I'm like, dude, this is not funny. Like we still
argue.
Right, we still on what happened. So we don't argue very often. I feel like we've sort of grown there.
That's good.
But when we get to the point where something does get to the point where it becomes an argument, and that's interesting because I feel like one, I need to set up my argument in a way that is not I'm right, but is in a way that I can feel like I can try to at least make you understand where I'm coming from. Because if I come at it from the perspective of I'm right, you're automatically going to come at it from the I'm not going to apologize, right? And then it's just going to turn into a much bigger argument. You know what I'm saying? So I find it really interesting because I don't feel like I make you feel small when we argue anymore. I feel like if I don't approach this argument in a way that she can at least see where I'm coming from, she's not going to apologize for it, and we're going to have the issue.
Interesting.
You know what I'm saying? It's like that's your like defense to it, and so it's like, and I feel like that's one of the reasons why we got to a point where it's like we just shouldn't argue.
Right.
Very much. Like we're really good at talking things out.
Amen.
You know what I'm saying? We're really good at We're really good at talking things out. And so if something gets to a point where it turns into an argument, I feel like it's it's 1 in 10. You know what I'm saying? It's 1 in 10. But when that happens, I feel like we both have to be really strategic about how we approach it because we know that if like I have pet peeves and you have pet peeves, and if we're not respectful of both of each other's pet peeves, somebody's leaving.
That's true.
Yeah,
We say that.
Yeah, somebody's going somewhere for the evening, and this conversation is not going any further until maybe tomorrow.
Maybe.
You know what I'm saying? Maybe. So yeah, that's really interesting.
Wow.
You can do that.
So what would you change about her?
Yes.
So I'm gonna say this just for this season. I don't know if I would say this outside of this season of my life in particular. But this is the first thing that came to mind. I feel like my wife really does look at me as like Superman, right?
I do.
Like no matter what, Kane's gonna get it done. You know, there's nothing that's gonna hurt him. There's nothing that's gonna upset him or do whatever. Like Kane is gonna be straight no matter what, right? And it just so happened that in this season, my father died. So there have been times when I've not been okay, right? But I felt like I can't necessarily tell my wife that because I'm 100% sure she won't necessarily know how to take it. Like and like I don't know exactly what I need, but if it's a hug or if it's just calling or whatever, like I don't feel like I'm going to necessarily get that from her. right? And it's interesting because on the one hand, I want for her to be able to look at me as a strong person, as the backbone, as like, okay, no matter what, Kaim is going to take care of it, right? But in times like now, it's like, I'm kind of. It's just the nature of what's going on right now. I'm going through, my mother's going through, my brother's going through. Like we are all in a space where it's like we're all necessarily hurting, and I don't feel like she knows how to take that, and so we go sort of day by day, just as though things went, before my father passed, and it'll get to the point where I'm like, something's gotta change. I gotta go. I gotta do something. I gotta go somewhere. I have to do something to figure out how to. I've got to heal myself. I think that's how it is. Because we had this conversation. We actually had this conversation, and I was like, so I've gotten to the point where, because she was asking me why I wouldn't tell her what was wrong with me, and I was like, if I tell you what's wrong with me, what are you gonna do? You're not gonna do anything to address it because that's not how our relationship is set up. So let me feel how I feel and figure out how to heal myself. And then once this is all over with, I'll tell you all about it. But while I'm going through it, I don't feel like I can share it with you because I don't think you know how to deal with wounded kindness. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know how to deal with strong kindness, but you don't know how to deal with like hurt, wounded kindness. And
that's heavy.
So I don't even want to present hurt, wounded kindness. I'd rather just go out somewhere and be hurt, wounded kindness out somewhere in the dark by myself, and then come on back. And once it's all over, tell you, yeah, I was messed up yesterday, but today I'm okay. But it would be cool to, be able to come home and be like, yo, I'm kind of messed up right now. Figure out how to be able to navigate that.
Well, I'll kiss you now. Okay.
Oh, that's what's up.
That's real.
McGee's.
You want to go first?
I'm like, look at this.
So I will say I know the communication thing is still working. It's still a work in progress with me.
It's all of it.
It's still a work in progress with me. Like what was that? We were at
The Bible study?
couple of Bible studies, and like I said, it came up, the communication. And my problem is sometimes I hold back because I'm afraid of. Okay, if we do talk about what's bothering me, you know what I'm saying, I'm gonna go from like 0 to 60. You know what I'm saying? Because I grew up in a household like that. I grew up in a household like that, and you know what I'm saying. I always told myself I will never, talk to my wife that way. You know what I'm saying? And there have been times, where I'm like, oh God, that was my father. You know what I'm saying? Like, so it's not that I don't want to communicate. It's I tell myself I'm not gonna talk about it, because if we talk about it, then I'm just gonna say stuff, that is I'm gonna go overboard, and I'm gonna say stuff that might hurt her. So I know that's one. I know communication is a big, it's still an issue with us that I need to work on personally. I know.
What you want to change about me?
Well, Dawn always likes to talk. When it's like 10 o'clock, 10:30, 11 o'clock, and we laying in bed, and we already talked about earlier. I'm an early bird, so sometimes about 10, 11 o'clock, I'm down. There's been times like in the beginning, right? We're laying in the bed. It's like 11 o'clock, and she's like, I really need to talk to you about something. I'm like, what the? We had dinner together, we watched TV, and then we laid in the bed at like 11 o'clock. She's like, I really need to talk to you about something. I'm like, I don't want to talk right now. You know what I mean? So it was the timing. But also to that point, when I don't want, when I'm trying to hold back, when I don't want to communicate about something, my body language she's trying to gauge when the best time is, and I guess, when I'm half asleep, maybe that said to her, this is the best time to get it.
Yeah, I kind of understand where Billy was saying with the body language, because I know a lot of times when my wife says she wants to speak, you know, I want to talk to you, I'm always kind of on a defensive mode. So it kind of makes me feel kind of uptight and kind of puts me like on a defensive where, what is it now? Like, what is it? What is, you
And
know?
all I would want to ask is, what do you want from the grocery store?
It's not always that subtle.
But I'm just saying, give an example.
But I have to, I'm like you, I have to work on that too because, you know, it kind of tenses me up.
Yeah.
So.
I got you. So my wish, if I could change something about my spouse, and to his surprise, it would actually be him putting himself on his priority list. This, in my mind, summarizes all of the little nuances. So William, even though he talks so much trash, people,
Yes, he does.
he
You ain't gonna do
is
that,
a
though.
servant at heart. William will deny himself for me, for Winston, for family. He will consider himself last. But the challenge when we do that, we become short-tempered. We become short-fused. We're trying to get, just get by ourselves so we can watch our show and play on our phone and I just feel like if he would prioritize himself,
My God.
he could make a better balance where he's taking care of his goals and his desires and what he wants to do, but then he also can swing back over and help out and have some listening time. Because a part of his frustration, and I can tell in his body language, because he gives. He gives so much of himself. When I do come with the, hey, it's like, not one more thing. But if you had taken care of you in some capacity, you wouldn't feel so drained and so, that's my wish list for Billy.
That's a word.
And what I respect is that he reveres the man that his father taught him to be. And that image in his mind does not include a lot of emotion. However, the challenge is we are human. Emotions are there. I don't care what you think, they are there. And how do we know? Because we snap. That's a feeling.
Yeah.
And so if he would just take just a little time in his own way to inventory, how do I feel? Even if he don't want to tell me about it.
Right.
To take that time to say, instead of pushing it down and trying to deny it because I'm the man, that feeling is going to drive you. And your reaction is how you're going to know. I think if he did more of that, we would have a better balance. And I think he would even feel better because, like, for example, something as simple as golf lessons. I gifted him several anniversaries or birthdays ago
It was about 5 years.
to pay for the lessons. But because, no, I got to do this for mom. No, I got to do this for this. Everybody comes first. So we still ain't had the golf lessons. And so there was a conversation that came up at work, and golf was a part of the conversation, but we ain't had the lesson. So it's like, if he would just do that, I think his whole world would just be better because he's also meeting his goals and also having, the servitude that he wants to have as well. But the longer he puts himself last, he'll never have a peace. He'll never have a peace.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the end of our 5 questions or 10 questions part 1 show. We've got another part coming up where the next 5 questions we will look to answer. But for this episode, we just tackled the first 5. We want to thank you guys for tuning in with us. As always, we know you could have been somewhere else, but you were here with us, and we appreciate it. If you have not seen our first episode, check out our first episode where we all just sort of introduce ourselves as couples, and look forward to the next one. Once again, thank you for tuning in to When Two Becomes One, and we'll see you next time. Have a good one.